Salutations, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of PTV FC. I'm your host, Louie Pasculli, and I'm welcomed by my star-studded panel of Ryan Johnston and Jimmy Bliss. Before we get into it, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing great, Louis. My team got to the European semifinals this past week, so I am flying really high. And I think Ryan's probably flying pretty high right now as well, because if I know him, his team also made it to the semifinals of his European competition.
You know, what can I say? It's a beautiful day out here, you know? No one expected it. We're really the underdogs. We're Creed out here. We're Adonis Creed, and we're just out here living life. We're looking to take down the Red Devils in that final, hopefully. So we'll see what happens.
Now, unfortunately, I can't say the same for the team that I support, but it's okay. We'll talk about that very, very shortly. And a lot has happened since the last time that we were together, guys. We've seen a lot of football, and we got a lot to talk about. So, of the four teams that remain in the Champions League, right? Both German teams, zero German teams remain in the Champions League. Actually, both Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund were eliminated, as were Porto and Liverpool. So let me get your thoughts on what happened last week in the Champions League.
Yeah, so I'll start this off. So I want to highlight the Bayern Munich and PSG game because I was the one on this panel that said that PSG was the best team left in Europe, that PSG would go through, and that I was the only one that believed in PSG. Fast forward a few weeks in time, and I was the only one that was right. Now, I can't really blame you guys because Bayern Munich is a really good team, and they're really a star-studded team. They believed that they were the best team in the world, and I'd say they probably are close to the best team in the world, but their injuries were really what stacked the odds against them. And so what really happened in that PSG and Bayern tie was Neymar really played fantastically, and he played to his complete potential over those two games. He showed that he's still a top 5 player in the world, even though some people don't really see him as that anymore now that he plays in a farmers league. But I still think he's a top 5 player in the world. He won man of the match, and he was crucial for them across the 3 hours of the soccer that was played. And they pretty much controlled the first half and did enough in the second half to go through. If you saw Neymar hit the crossbar, he hit the post. Now, I would have liked to see him convert on a few of those chances, but he still put in a really, really good performance and controlled the entire game. As for the other games, I mean, I thought that the Man City and Dortmund game pretty much went up to what we expected. Dortmund did play pretty well, and they did definitely have a chance in that game, but once Man City scored their penalty kick goal, it was all done. As for Chelsea-Porto, went as expected. Porto couldn't keep their Cinderella story alive, and they got taken out by Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea's side. And then finally, Real Madrid-Liverpool. I was very, very surprised with how Liverpool just kind of weren't ready for this Real Madrid tie. You know, this Real Madrid team is pretty much midfield dominant. They have the best midfield arguably in the world with Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, and Casemiro, but they didn't really combat that well at all. And Liverpool, ultimately, they had a lot of chances, but they could not convert any chances in that second tie. So they really were the merchant of their own death there. And without, converting their chances, they were as good as done. So ultimately, I did kind of predict this to be the final 4 remaining in the Champions League, apart from maybe Real Madrid making it through. I thought that Liverpool was better, but nonetheless, Real Madrid got through anyway.
Yeah, it's a little easier to beat Bayern Munich when you don't have literally the best player in the world, Robert Lewandowski, when he was injured for the draw. So I'll give it to you, Jimmy. But come on, man, you're acting like Bayern Munich isn't anything anymore. And I still think they're the best team in the world when Lewandowski's healthy, personally. But definitely you made a great point about that Liverpool game, and really it just highlighted that lack of defense that we've been talking about all season with them, with basically all of their center backs injured. Joel Matip, Virgil van Dijk, and Joe Gomez all done pretty much. So it's hard to see Liverpool play that poorly, really, but not unexpected against a team of Real Madrid's caliber. And I really want to highlight something. Chelsea's run so far has been so easy. I mean, they are not a Champions League semifinal squad in the slightest. Not in the slightest. It is ridiculous in my eyes. You know, looking at their first matchup, all right, Atletico Madrid is pretty good. They've been putting in work this year in La Liga. Okay? I'll give them that. Porto, no. I'm not that's not a good win, dude. Juventus, they beat Juventus, but come on. They're riding on momentum there, and they lost all their momentum against Chelsea, and that was it. If they were on the other side of the bracket, they would have been done. That's all I'm saying. They would not have gotten through that second round, in my eyes, at the very least. I don't think Chelsea is a semifinal caliber squad. I don't think they're going to make the final either.
Wow, that is a hot take from Mr. Ryan. I'm surprised the word dog water wasn't used, but regardless, I think it was a very interesting slate of games. I wasn't too surprised. I mean, although you said Chelsea doesn't deserve to be there, for me, I think I view them as a little bit better than you do, and I thought that they were going to win, and they went out and did just that. Maybe Bayern Munich was a little bit of a surprise, but again, Lewandowski was out. And PSG, as you said, as both of you have mentioned, is just so good. I mean, Neymar, as Jimmy said, is playing to form. And obviously, Mbappe is one of the best players, but one of the best young players in the world. And I would have loved to see an Mbappe versus Haaland final. That's kind of, or excuse me, semi-final. That's kind of what I was looking forward to, but that's not going to be the case as Borussia Dortmund cannot get it done against the team that I think is the best team in the world in Manchester City. The penalty was ticky-tacky, but I'm not going to complain about it. I think that had to be called because it hit him in the arm, the shoulder area, but I still think it was a pen. And honestly, Man City was just the better side in that game. They were very convincing. It was a very convincing win from them. I got excited when Dortmund scored early with Jude Bellingham, but then after that, it was kind of pedestrian, and Man City just went out and took care of business. But overall, I was pretty happy with the game so far, and I'm looking forward to see what we have in store for us in the coming weeks with this Champions League as we're getting down to the final, the semifinal, and then the actual final. Now, we have our matchups for the semifinal, and it's going to be Real Madrid versus Chelsea and Man City versus PSG. So which match are you guys most looking forward to? I'll start with Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, there's only really one right answer here. It's got to be PSG versus Man City. They're two of the top three teams in the world. Like I said before, I think Bayern, when fully healthy, when they have Robert Lewandowski and everyone, I think they are the best team in the world. But these two are definitely a close second and third. And I've got to go with PSG winning this one, personally. I think they're going to ride the momentum that they had in that game, that series against Bayern Munich. That was a huge win for them, especially personally. After losing to them in the Champions League final last season, a huge mental barrier that they just overcame right there. So I don't think anyone's going to stop them really moving forward. Manchester City, they kind of like to keep the ball. They like to control possession. Most major teams do, but they seriously like to keep control of that ball. And I think PSG, just with their pace up top, Mbappe is one of the fastest players in the world. Neymar, obviously a speedy dude. Di Maria, he's slowing down a little bit as his age piles on, but he's still, unbelievable talent right there. I just think that this front three is going to be a little too much for Man City to handle. I think it's going to be a great series, though. I'm really excited to see this one, and whoever wins this draw, in my eyes, is the champion already.
I definitely agree with you there, Ryan. I do think it's PSG and Man City that is the best semifinal tie. And just to get back to your point last segment about how Chelsea's not a semifinalist caliber team, that's probably true, but we usually get one or two teams every single semifinal that's really not up to par. But nonetheless, back to PSG and Man City. One thing that I thought was very, very interesting that I figured out just before the show was Pep Guardiola is the one manager in this semifinal that has managed a semifinal the latest, actually. And he's probably the best manager left here in the semifinals. His last semifinal was with Bayern Munich, and I believe that was in 2014. We saw Mauricio Pochettino with Tottenham just a few years ago when they got to the final. Last year, Thomas Tuchel managed PSG in the semifinals and obviously the final. And then we saw Zinedine Zidane win a three-peat with Real Madrid. So Pep Guardiola, potentially a little bit nervy for the semifinal. And it's really, really a big prove your worth kind of game for Pep Guardiola. He is one of the best managers in the world, but he doesn't have a Champions League to his name with his current team, and he's been there for 5 years. Typically, when you're the best manager in the world or one of them, you win the biggest trophy in world football in the Champions League within your first few years on the job, but that hasn't been the case with Pep Guardiola. Going back to PSG, I do think that they will go through. I think that they're going to go through 5-4 overall. And in order to win this Champions League, they're really going to have to run the gauntlet. They're going to have to have beaten Barcelona and Bayern Munich, which they have been able to do so. Man City and either Chelsea or Real Madrid, probably Real Madrid, but either way, they're going to have to play a lot of these really good teams and run the gauntlet to be able to capture this old big years, that's what they call it, the Champions League trophy. And I do think that PSG is the best team in the world. I think that they have proven it this year that they are the best team in the world. I thought they would have won the Champions League last year if they were fully healthy. But anyway, I do expect PSG to progress, and we will see them in Istanbul in June.
Yeah, I just have to echo exactly what you guys are saying, because there really is only one fixture and one set of games that is going to be determine who's going to win the Champions League. In my eyes, there's no way that Real Madrid or Chelsea are going to be able to beat either PSG or Man City. I think Man City has the edge just a little bit over PSG, but that you guys have made compelling arguments starting to get me to rethink what I thought of going into the show, how PSG's front line is just so dominant. Mbappe, Neymar, and they have a really solid team. If I think it's definitely winnable for Man City, no question. I think that they just have to, as Ryan said, control possession. They're gonna have to play their style of game. They're gonna have to rotate and play well defensively against this crazy front line. I think that also if both games are kind of a scoring fest, if defense doesn't really exist, like if we see 3-3 and then 2-2, if Man City can get those away goals and if they can put a few goals in the back of the net when they are not home, then that's going to be huge for them in terms of who advances to the final. I think it's very possible for them. I mean, De Bruyne, you talked about, I think it was Jimmy talked about Real Madrid having one of the best midfields as a whole in the world, and they definitely do. There's no question about it. But midfielders best in the world has to be De Bruyne. He's going to have a large impact because he's going to be the one assisting Aguero or Jesus, whoever's playing, and he's going to be the one that's really facilitating the offense, because in that cam position, he fits just so well. I just love watching him play. So he's going to be a big factor in this game. I do think City can win. I mean, it's not out of the question. City is just as good, if not better, than PSG. But this is kind of the thing where I don't really want to give a prediction. I just want to sit back and watch. I don't want to have any stake in this game. I'm not betting. Some people bet. I'm not betting on this game. I don't want to add any stress. I just kind of want to sit back and watch some amazing football that's going to be played. I'm excited for it. And just a few days before the second leg of the Champions League games took place, we had a slate of 10 games for the Premier League. We saw Manchester City fall to Leeds, who were only playing with 10 men. And we saw Manchester United defeat Tottenham after being down 1-0. And we also saw many other interesting things. So what stood out to you guys for match day 31?
Definitely want to shout out my Red Devils for the victory over Tottenham. Playing a Jose Mourinho team in this edition of Tottenham, it's never easy to get a result. I mean, we saw earlier this season, Man U just got thrashed by Tottenham. I believe it was 6-1 in October. And to come back and to beat them 3-1 in their house is absolutely incredible, especially after trailing by a goal. And typically when Mourinho's teams have a one-goal advantage, they kind of play a little bit more defensively, try to hold on and get those 3 points. But in this instance, they weren't able to stay defensively and get all 3 points. Fred, he scored the first goal, and then it was Edison Cavani who scored the game winner in the 79th, and Greenwood wrapped up the 3 points in the 90th minute. But I also want to give a shout out to Paul Pogba, and I think he played the best game of his career in a Man United kit last week against Tottenham. He had an assist that was chalked off due to VAR, which was arguably wrongfully taken off, but nonetheless, it was taken off regardless. But he didn't let that faze him. He ran the midfield and pretty much controlled the whole game for the whole 90 minutes. We haven't seen a performance from him in any jersey since probably his last year at Juventus in 2015, 2016. He was just incredible all over the pitch. He has a huge engine, and whenever he's fully fit, he is one of the top 5 midfielders in the world, in my opinion. And also, sticking with Paul Pogba, he also criticized Jose Mourinho a little bit this week and added a little bit more fuel to the fire, saying that Jose Mourinho, when he manages a team, he pretends like some players don't exist while he manages the club and kind of leaves them out to dry. Like he did that with Paul Pogba, he did that with Luke Shaw. We saw that with Tony Marshall as well. So has a little bit more fuel to the fire, a little extra element that you may have not realized about what's gone on this week between Pogba and Jose Mourinho. But I definitely do want to shout out the Red Devils for a great 3-1 win over Tottenham. With the game in hand, if they do win that, they're 8 points behind Man City, and I don't expect them to win the title, but I do think that the number 2 spot in the league is now secure now that Man U did take down Tottenham 3-1 this weekend.
Yeah, definitely a great pick right there. But I want to talk about West Ham. West Ham versus Leicester City. That was a great game that happened this weekend, and West Ham pulling out a huge win, 3-2. Huge implications for the top 4. First of all, these two teams are so close in points. 55 to 56. Leicester is just on top, but they've been struggling a little bit lately. That was their second loss in a row. Admittedly, these aren't horrible losses. It's not like they're losing to a Burnley or someone like that. Their loss came against Man City 2-0. And then West Ham, who has been great all year, surprisingly great all year. So not the worst losses there, but a huge win for West Ham, really sort of securing the fact that they are in that upper echelon of the Premier League this season, in my eyes at least. And shout out to Jesse Lingard, man. Really, really a huge resurgence right there, an inspiring story after kind of getting written off towards the end of his tenure at Man United. Scored a brace in that game and really gave West Ham the boost that they needed. Leicester had a comeback late, but they couldn't quite pull it out. And Leicester dominated the whole game, too. They had around 65% possession, 15 shots. West Ham was just more clinical. They only had 4 shots and 4 shots on target. 3 goals out of those 4 shots. That's huge. Huge for West Ham and big implications for the top 4.
Both of you guys mentioned fantastic games, fantastic moments, but I want to talk about Man City versus Leeds. That just was mind-blowing to me. We're talking about a team in Man City who has, in my opinion, the potential to be Champions League winners. And they just lost to a team who was playing in the English Championship last year. And Leeds United played with only 10 men for half the game. Now, to me, that's cause for concern. But before I get all worked up, I have to say that Man City was in rest mode because obviously the Champions League fixture was just a few days later. And so players like De Bruyne, Kevin Walker, they weren't playing. Foden didn't even start until I don't remember when he was subbed on, but he was not a starter. He was subbed on into the match. And although City wasn't at full strength, they have one of the deepest benches in the world. I mean, they can match up against Bayern's bench, against PSG's bench. They have the depth. And I was kind of surprised to see them lose this game because of what I just mentioned. Leeds is currently 10th in the Premier League. So they're not, blowing people out of the water every game. And they also played with 10. I was just surprised to see that. And I started to doubt them. And then it's almost like they heard me and said, hey, Louie, don't doubt us, because they went out and beat Dortmund 2-1. So I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have doubted Manchester City. But I was just kind of shocked to see them lose. And we really haven't seen them lose to teams outside of the top 6 basically at all this season. But it was basically to no avail because they obviously were able to rebound and beat Dortmund in a game that has more, I guess, implications for the future, because a game against Leeds in the Premier League doesn't really matter. They're going to win the Premier League. I'm almost certain about that. They're going to take that by storm. They already have been taken by storm all season, but it's the Champions League that really matters, and they're able to bounce back. And as I said, they're able to beat Dortmund. So there's really no reason to doubt them. I see that now, but I didn't see that when they got a goal scored on them in the 90th minute against Leeds, but whatever, that's fine. Anyway, if the season ended right now, as you said, Ryan, West Ham has been playing really well, and West Ham will be playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays next year. Manchester City and Manchester United are pretty much set for 1 and 2 in the Premier League, respectively. Then it goes Leicester, West Ham, Chelsea, and Liverpool to round out the top 6. It's so close right now, and there's only 4 points separating 3rd and 6th place in the Premier League standings. So then Tottenham, it's Everton, and then Arsenal are on the outside looking in, but they're not too many points away. Now, we did this a few episodes ago, but now that we're closer to the end of the season, I want to hear your updated predictions on the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th spots in the Premier League.
No, Louis, you're going to be really happy with my predictions right now. I just got to say that. And
Let's go. I love to hear that.
as much as I would have loved to put Arsenal in, I just think we're too inconsistent and we're way too far down at this point. 7 points off of 6, I believe. So I don't really see it happening. I think our way into the Champions League this year would be to win the Europa League. And I think that's what we should really focus on at this point, because the Premier League, it doesn't matter realistically. So that being said, I have West Ham finishing in 3rd. I have West Ham finishing in 3rd for the season. I think Liverpool actually is going to finish 4th now that they're out of the Champions League and they have a bit more time to rest all of their players, not save their players for Tuesday and Wednesdays, instead have their best squad playing every weekend. I have Leicester going in at 5th, and I have Chelsea actually falling to 6th. And I think that a big reason for that is because they are in the semifinals of this Champions League. Louis is shaking his head right now. But no, I mean, they need to focus on this Champions League. I said they're not a semifinal squad, and I do stand by that. But the fact is that they're there, and that's far more important than trying to finish 4th in the in the Premier League right now, in my eyes at least. I think that they should be putting everything they can towards trying to win that big cup, because that'd be huge, especially for Thomas Tuchel in his first season, his first half season. Really, winning the Champions League, that would be ridiculous coming in. I don't think they're going to do it, but I think that will be their focus moving forward. It has not even like their form has been too bad. I just don't think that they should be focusing on the Premier League right now. As for Leicester, I think they've lost a little bit of their momentum that they had earlier, and they have a bit of a tough schedule coming up. They've got Man United, Chelsea, and Tottenham in their last 6 games or 5 games or so. Or 7 games. There we go, 7 games. So definitely not the easiest way to round out the season. And Liverpool, they've won their last 3 Premier League games. They don't have to worry about Champions League soccer anymore, so they can just put everything they have towards that. And they have a pretty easy schedule left to round out the season. And West Ham, it's a cupcake schedule for them. I mean, they're really not playing anyone. They're playing Chelsea and Everton, and Everton is easily a winnable game in my eyes. Chelsea, again, a very winnable game with how they've been playing as of late. And the rest of the teams are just cupcake teams. They should easily beat all of these teams, all the rest of the teams that they're playing. I think their toughest game outside of those two is maybe Aston Villa, who is in 11th. So that's my top 4. I'm sticking by it. I think West Ham will finish 3rd at the end of the year.
You do make some really good points, Ryan, but I don't have a single team finishing where you have them finishing for your 3 through 6 spots. So in 3rd place, I have Chelsea. I think Chelsea has just been so good under Thomas Tuchel, and he has been exactly what Chelsea's needed. He's been rotating the side to perfection. The center backs, the center mids, the wing backs, the forwards, everyone's been getting game time, which makes everyone really happy, makes everyone fresher, makes everyone play a lot better. I just think that I know that you say that they do have to worry about the Champions League, but I don't think that's too big of an issue if you do have a deep squad like Chelsea and they are rotating pretty much every single game. You don't see players play twice a week for Chelsea, but it doesn't really matter to them. And 4th, I have Leicester. I know it's a little bit controversial because Leicester hasn't been great recently, but I do think that they'll get it together. I think they do have a good squad. I trust Jamie Vardy. He's been there, done that before. He's won a Golden Boot. He's been really, really good in the Premier League in his career. I think he'll do just enough to keep them in that top 4. They will be a lot more motivated to get top 4 this year because they choked it away last season. And I just think that the rest of the squad, like Madison, Schmeichel, Soyuncu, everyone is going to contribute really well to get the 4th spot. 5th place, I have West Ham. I think that they do have a really, really easy schedule, but a desperate team that they're going to be playing toward the end of the season, a desperate team is the best team that you could possibly play. They are going to be throwing everything against the wall. I mean, if you're battling relegation, you're going to be scratching and clawing and trying to do anything you possibly can to stay up in this league. And I know that obviously the schedule, which I just said, was not easy, but anything can happen in soccer. They only play Chelsea and Everton, but I think that they'll probably lose a few more games that we might not think they will. Sixth place, I have Liverpool. They dug themselves too deep of a hole to recover from, I think. They don't have anything else to play for, and they're going to be gunning hard for the top four. But I mean, they've been gunning hard for the top four the entire season, and they have not gotten there. So I don't really have anything to say apart from Liverpool is in sixth place. Book it. I don't think they're getting top four, and I'm really, really confident when I say that. So I do think that playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, joining the two Manchester sides will be Chelsea and Leicester, and then West Ham and Liverpool, I think, will be playing in European competition, but in the Europa League.
I have to agree with you there, Jimmy. In terms of number 6, I think Liverpool is going to stay right there when match day 38 rolls around. They're not in the Champions League anymore, so they can focus solely on the Premier League, but it's not like they rested their players anyway. So basically, their starting 11 has been the same for the Champions League as well as the Premier League. But as we've talked about before, all of their defenders are injured. That does not help a cause when you're trying to advance in the Premier League standings. I think that they're going to stay right there at 6th. And then number 5th, I have Leicester. I have them dropping a little bit. West Ham has an easier schedule, and I think Chelsea's going to play better. So Leicester is going to round out in 5th place. And then, as I said, West Ham has an easier schedule, so I think they'll finish where they are now in 4th. Well, they'll go to 4th, and that's where they will finish. And they've been playing well. I don't see them, Jimmy, I don't see them losing games that we expect them to win because that's not how they got to 4th in the Premier League. You gave me a little what the heck, but that's okay. I don't know. I think that they're going to carry the season strong. And you talked about hungry teams. I think West Ham is just hungry to play European football next year. If that's the Europa League, if that's the Champions League, either one, I think they're still going to be fighting for it, and they're still going to play hard until the very last game of the season. So I have them being in 4th place. And then in 3rd, I could disagree with Ryan a little bit and agree with Jimmy in the sense that I think Chelsea is going to be able to stay playing really well. I think they're going to finish 3rd. Thomas Tuchel has come in and had them go on an amazing run of form. Am I a little bit biased? Maybe, but I still think he's a really good manager. I really see Chelsea finishing the league in 3rd place. Maybe if Werner can hit a goal or score a goal soon and not miss an open net like he did in that one game, I believe it's for Germany though, not for Chelsea, then Chelsea's going to be all right. They're going to finish just fine, and they're going to be in 3rd. But that is all the time we have for today's episode. So thank you for letting us be a part of your day today. For my amazing panel of Ryan Johnston and Jimmy Bliss, and our fantastic producers, Cooper Tennant and Mateus Moreno, as well as Ben Harris, stay safe and have a great day.